The cock had crowed 3 times before Detective Tunde Ajala left his veranda that morning. The air was thick with the smell of roasted corn and damp earth after last night's rain. Children in uniforms rushed past, dragging tin lunchboxes. It was a normal day until the town crier's gong shattered the calm. Here-o, here-o! Mama Risi, the Ogi woman, has not been seen since 2 nights past. Any who saw her last should report to the palace. Tunde stopped mid-step. He knew Mama Risi. Her laugh, her temper, her famous Ogi that kept construction workers fed. She had no husband, just her daughter, Tola, who lived in Ibadan. For her to vanish without a trace, not normal. By the time Tunde reached the market, a crowd had gathered. Women whispered, men stood with arms folded, and some children peered into the locked wooden door behind Mama Risi's store. He pushed gently through. Move small, please. Inside her store, the scent of burnt pap lingered. A pot still sat on the firewood, covered with ash. A store was overturned, and near it, muddy footprints, one large, one small, faded toward the back gate leading to the bush path. He bent low and touched the floor. Still damp, maybe from the rain, or maybe from something else. Detective, said Aisha, standing at the doorway. She and Kunle argued that evening about palm oil measurement. The whole market saw it. Tunle nodded. He had seen Kunle before, a tall, nervous young man who spoke too politely. He went straight to Kunle's store. Kunle was there, packing bottles of oil, eyes darting. When he saw Tunde, his hands froze. Morning, sir. I hear you and Mama Risi had words. Just small quarrel, sir. She accused me wrongly. I swear, I didn't touch her. Tunde said nothing, but his eyes went to Kunle's wrist. A deep scratch, not healed. How did you get that? From palm oil bottle that broke yesterday. Tunde looked toward the bush path. A faint smell of palm oil mixed with iron floated on the air, the unmistakable scent of blood. He followed the trail to where the bush thickened. The red earth told stories, footprints, scuff marks, and a torn wrapper caught on a cassava stalk. Then something glimmered, half buried, a gold earring. He picked it up with his handkerchief. He knew that earring. Mama Risi wore it every day. Tunde exhaled slowly. This town hides something, he murmured, and it's not just palm oil. He turned back toward the market. Somewhere, among the faces staring at him, someone knew more than they were saying. Evening fell quietly over Alkeru, the kind of calm that comes before a storm. The market had emptied. Only the croaking of frogs and the rustle of palm leaves filled the air. Detective Tunde Ajala walked alone down the narrow path behind the market, the same path where the footprints had led. He carried a small torchlight, its weak beam dancing over the red soil. Every few steps he bent to study the ground, noting the marks, one large set of footprints and another faint, smaller one, maybe a woman's. The path curved toward the river, where women fetched water and washed clothes by day. Now it was silent. The moonlight shimmered on the water's surface, broken only by a single wooden basin floating lazily near the bank. Tunde's light caught something. He crouched. A torn piece of cloth, the same pattern as Mama Risi's wrapper. He picked it up carefully, his heart tightening. Near it, the mud was darker, disturbed, as if something heavy had been dragged. He heard a twig snap behind him. He turned quickly. Who's there? A figure stepped from the shadows. It was Officer Bamidele, young, uniform untucked, breathing hard. Sir, Chief Odebeyi sent me. He said you should stop this search for now. The elders will handle it. Tunde straightened slowly. The elders? He asked. Yes, sir. They said maybe it's a spiritual matter. They want to consult the oracle tomorrow. Tunde's voice hardened. So a woman vanishes and the best they can do is pour palm wine for the gods? Bamidele shifted nervously. Sir, you know how things are here. People fear talking when it concerns the chief. Tunde's eyes narrowed. What do you mean when it concerns the chief? The young officer swallowed. Sir, I shouldn't say, but Mama Risi used to cook for the chief's visitors. Some say she overheard things she shouldn't have. 2 nights before she disappeared, she went to the palace after dark. A chill went through Tunde. The palace. That was where the trail truly led. He pocketed the cloth and started back toward the village. If the elders want to handle it, let them, but I'll find the truth before the oracle does. The palace courtyard buzzed with early visitors. Chief Odebeyi, the town's ruler, sat beneath the mango tree, wearing a white agbada and a frown that never left his face. Tunde bowed respectfully. Detective Ajala, the chief said coldly, we appreciate your concern, but this case is sensitive. You know how people talk. I only care about the missing woman, sir, and I believe she was here the night she disappeared. The chief's eyes flickered briefly, then he laughed. Haha, rumors, market gossip, you should not build your work on women's tongues. Tunde smiled faintly. Sometimes women's tongues tell the truth faster than drums, sir. Silence. Then the chief's tone hardened. Ajala, leave this matter, for your own good. Tunde bowed again, but as he turned to leave, he noticed something behind the chief's chair. A small calabash half hidden under a stool, and on it a familiar mark, the same charcoal circle drawn on Mamarisi's stall wall. The detective walked away slowly, his mind racing. The chief wanted silence, the police feared him, and the town was pretending nothing had happened. Only one person might dare to talk. Tola, Mamarisi's daughter. It was time to find her.
Rain threatened that afternoon in Okearo. The clouds hung low, and the scent of wet dust filled the air. Detective Tunde Ajala sat by his desk in the small police post, turning the gold earring in his hand, Mamarisi's. He'd cleaned it carefully. Now it gleamed faintly in the weak light. He didn't hear the knock at first. Then a voice, soft but firm. "Excuse me, sir. I'm looking for Detective Ajala." He looked up. A young woman stood at the door, dressed in a simple Ankara gown. Her eyes were red from travel and sleeplessness, but they burned with purpose. "I'm Tola, Mamarisi's daughter." Tunde rose slowly. "You came from Ibadan, right?" She nodded. "They called me yesterday. They said Mama's missing, but nobody will tell me the truth. What have you found?" Tunde gestured to a chair. "Sit. I'm doing everything I can. Your mother's trail led to the river, and possibly the palace." Tola's hands clenched. "The palace? You mean Chief Odebeyi's place? Mama cooked there often, but she hated those late-night visits. She told me once that she wanted to stop going, but she hesitated. But she said she was afraid." "Afraid of what?" Tola looked around nervously. "She didn't say, just that these men think they can do anything because they wear white. I thought she meant the chiefs." Tunde scribbled a note. "When did you last speak with her?" "2 nights before she disappeared. She said something strange. She said, 'Tola, if anything happens, check my red box under the bed.'" Tunde's head lifted. "You still have access to her room?" "Yes," she replied. "They sealed it, but Aisha has the spare key." That evening, back at Mamarisi's room, the rain had started, drumming softly on the zinc roofs as Tunde and Tola pushed open the creaking door to the small room behind the market. The air was heavy with the smell of smoke and old food. They found the red box under the bed, dusty and locked with a small brass latch. Tunde used his mind knife to pry it open. Inside were folded papers, an old necklace, and a black nylon bag filled with cash, crisp notes tied in bundles. Tola gasped. "Mama never had this kind of money. Where did she get it?" Beneath the money was a notebook. The first few pages were blank, but halfway through, names appeared, written in Mamarisi's familiar handwriting. Tunde read aloud. "Chief Odebeyi, Councillor Jide, Inspector Falade, 200,000 naira, 150,000 naira. He flipped further. Each page listed dates, amounts, and initials, a record of bribes. He whistled softly. "Your mother was keeping records of corruption money." Tola's face twisted in disbelief. "But why? She wasn't part of them." Tunde nodded slowly. "No, I think she was documenting it. Maybe to protect herself, maybe to expose them later." At the back of the notebook, one line stood out, written shakily. "They said I know too much. If I don't deliver tonight, they will silence me." A heavy silence filled the room. The rain outside grew harder, thunder rolling like drums of warning. Tunde closed the notebook. "Tola, your mother didn't just vanish, she was silenced." As they left the market, Tunde noticed someone standing across the street, half hidden behind a tree, a tall man in a white agbada, watching them. The man turned and disappeared into the darkness before Tunde could reach him, but the glint of gold on his wrist was unmistakable, the same kind of bracelet Chief Odebeyi wore at the palace. Tunde's heart sank. He finally knew what kind of enemy he was up against, and he wasn't sure if Okeara was ready for the truth. The next morning, Okeara woke under heavy clouds and thicker whispers. Word of Detective Tunde's discovery spread fast, though no one admitted to spreading it. The market was quiet. Women sold in low dawns, eyes darting toward the palace. Tunde knew the silence meant danger. He met Officer Bamidele near the station, the young man's eyes darting nervously. "Sir," Bamidele said in a low voice, "I heard they plan to call you before the Elders' Council today. The chief says you're disturbing peace with city-style investigation." Tunde smiled faintly. If the truth disturbs peace, maybe the peace was never real. He slipped the red notebook into his inner pocket. The evidence was too risky to leave behind. Later, the palace courtyard. Drummers played lazily as the elders gathered under the mango tree. The air was thick with palm wine and unspoken tension. Chief Odabi, dressed in spotless white, sat on his carved chair, calm, composed, but with eyes that could cut glass. When Tunde entered, murmurs ran through the crowd. He bowed slightly. "Detective Ajala," the chief said smoothly, "you've been walking the market like a spirit hunter. Do you have any results to show?" Tunde Stone stayed respectful. "Only questions, sir, and one of them leads to this palace." A ripple of shock moved through the crowd. The chief's smile stiffened. "Mind your words." Tunde nodded and held up the gold earring. "This was found by the river path, near where the footprints ended. Mama Risi's earring. And under your chair yesterday, I saw a calabash with this same market." He drew the charcoal circle on the ground, the same symbol drawn on her stall wall. The chief shifted slightly. "You think I killed her? You forget yourself." "No, sir," Tunde said quietly, "but I think someone close to you did, and you're protecting them." Gasps filled the courtyard. One of the elders banged his walking stick. "Detective, be careful what you say in the presence of our king." Tunde looked around. If truth offends royalty, then maybe royalty has offended truth. The chief rose, voice calm but trembling underneath. "Enough. Leave this palace, Ajala, before you join the woman you seek." Tunde bowed slightly again. "As you wish, sir, but the earth doesn't swallow blood forever. It speaks, even from underwater." He turned to go, but caught a movement near the back gate. Kunli, the palm oil seller, slipping away quietly with a bundle. Tunde's instinct screamed. He followed. Behind the palace, the bamboo grove. The rain had returned, light but steady. Kunli walked fast through the grove, unaware of the shadow following him. When Tunde Funde Steintal, gun holstered, his voice was calm. "Kunli, going somewhere?" The young man froze, eyes wild. The bundle fell open, revealing a blood-stained cloth and a small calabash similar to the one at the palace. "Sir, please, I didn't mean to." "Talk," Tunde ordered. "Now." Kunli dropped to his knees, trembling. "It was the chief's driver, sir. He said Mama saw them counting money that night. She wanted to talk. They told me to take her to the river to scare her. But she fought, she screamed. The driver hit her with the calabash. I swear, I didn't mean for her to die." Tunde's voice dropped. "Where is her body?" Kunli's voice broke. "Buried."
Dawn broke quietly over Okero, but the town's silence was heavy, like air before his storm. The news had started to spread in whispers. They found Mama Risi. Some said it was a lie, others said the gods had revealed her body. But those who saw Tunde's eyes that morning knew it wasn't rumor, it was Judgment Day. Officer Bamidele paced nervously as Tunde entered, dripping from the morning rain. In his hand was the red notebook, sealed in a brown envelope. "Sir, are you really going to the palace with this? You know what the chief can do." Tunde dropped the envelope on the table. "If we fear power, we become its slaves. Mama Risi died because she stood between truth and men who sell it. That ends today." Bamidele hesitated. "Then at least take backup." Tunde smiled faintly. "Backup is good, but courage is better." He picked up his old leather bag, tucked his revolver inside, and left. The courtyard was full. Elders sat in their flowing agbadas, villagers gathered at the edges, and drummers beat slow, uneasy rhythms. Word had reached the chief that Tunde was coming with evidence. When he arrived, even the drummers stopped. "Detective Ajala," said Chief Odebi, forcing a smile. "Back again? Have you come to apologize for your accusations?" "No, sir," Tunde replied evenly. "I came to present truth, whether it pleases you or not." He opened the brown envelope and held up the notebook. This belonged to Mama Risi. In it, she recorded payments, bribes, to several names, including yours. And last night, we recovered her body near the river. Witnesses confirmed she was taken there by your driver and your market agent, Kunle. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Chief Odebeyi's expression hardened. Lies, the words of a desperate man protecting a murderer. Tunle stepped closer. "Then explain this." He pulled out the calabash marked with the charcoal circle. Your palace charm, found with the men who killed her, the same symbol painted on her wall to warn her before she died. Chief Odebe's voice grew sharp. You think you can drag the palace into the mud? You think Lagos laws work here? This is Okearo. Then let Okearo hear her own truth, Tunde said calmly. Your power can silence tongues, but not blood. Mama Risi kept your secrets, but her grave has opened them. The crowd murmured louder. A few elders exchanged uneasy glances. Some villagers began to nod, whispering, It's true, it's true. The chief slammed his staff on the ground. Guards, arrest this man for treason. But the guards hesitated. They had heard too much. One of them stepped back instead of forward. Another dropped his spear. In the confusion, Tola emerged from the crowd, tears streaming but voice strong. You killed my mother. She fed your family, served your guests, and you killed her for honesty. Her cry broke the air like thunder. Tunde raised his voice above the noise. Chief Odebe, you stand accused of corruption, cover-up, and murder. If there is still justice in Okearo, you will answer for all three. The chief turned pale. He tried to speak, but his driver, the same man Kunle had named, suddenly bolted from the palace gate. The crowd surged, shouting. Officers chased him, and in the chaos, the chief stumbled back, clutching his chest. He collapsed beside his throne. The drummers stopped again. The sun dipped low over Okearo. The palace compound was quiet, guarded now by real police from the district. Chief Odebeyi was alive, but in custody, awaiting trial. Kunle and the driver had confessed. The red notebook became evidence. Tunde sat outside the station, tired but calm. Tola came to stand beside him, her eyes softer now. You kept your promise, she said quietly. No, Tunde replied. Your mother did. She wrote her truth before the darkness came. Tola smiled faintly, looking at the horizon. Maybe Okearo will change now. Tunde exhaled. Maybe, but change is slow. Like justice, it walks, it doesn't run. They stood in silence, listening to the night birds begin their song. For the first time in weeks, the air of Okearo felt lighter. But in the back of Tunde's mind, he knew, where truth exposes one shadow, another always waits behind it. 3 weeks had passed since Chief Odebeyi's arrest, and Okearo had begun to breathe again. The market buzzed with cautious laughter. Women sold freely, children ran through the alleys, and the police station, once ignored, now stood as a symbol of truth. But Detective Tunde Agyala knew peace in a town like Okearo never stayed long. It only waited. The chief's trial drew crowds from nearby towns. Inside the small courtroom, heat shimmered and murmurs filled the air. Tunde sat quietly at the back, the red notebook displayed before the magistrate as Exhibit A. Kunle had testified, trembling, his words confirming everything, the bribery, the threats, and the night Mama Risi was killed. When judgment came, it was short and final. Chief Odebeyi was sentenced to life imprisonment. The courtroom gasped. Some cheered, others whispered prayers. Tunde simply closed his eyes. Justice had arrived, slow, heavy, but real. The rain returned that evening, washing the market streets. Tola sat behind her mother's stall, now restored and freshly painted. A small sign above it read, Mama Risi's Ogi, the truth stands. Tunde stopped by, wearing his usual calm expression. You kept the stall, he said. Tola smiled softly. It's what she would have wanted. I'll continue her work. He nodded. Good. The town needs honest hands more than ever. For a moment, silence sat comfortably between them, until Tola leaned forward. Detective, do you ever stop, even now that the case is closed? Tunde gave a short laugh. Cases close, but people don't change so easily. Justice is a river. If you don't watch it, it turns red again. As he turned to leave, Aisha, Mama Risi's old friend, hurried towards them, holding a folded letter. Detective, this came for you. No name, just your title. Tunde took the envelope. The handwriting was careful, unfamiliar. Inside was a single line written in blue ink. Not all the money was the chief's. The rest belonged to the ones in uniform. He looked up sharply. Who brought this? Aisha shrugged. A boy from the next village said someone gave him 10 naira to deliver it. Tunde folded the letter slowly, eyes distant. The storm he thought had ended was beginning again, quietly under new names. Tunde sat on his veranda, listening to crickets and the hum of the generator in the distance. He poured himself a cup of palm wine. the night breeze soft on his face. From the shadows, Officer Bamidele approached. "Sir, we've been hearing talk from the district station. Some senior officers want that notebook. They say it's part of other investigations." Tunde did not look up. "Let them come. The truth is not for sale." Bamidele nodded nervously. "Still, sir, you should be careful." Tunde smiled faintly. "I always am." He leant back, watching lightning flash over the hills. Somewhere beyond those hills, corruption was already shifting, changing names, hiding behind new faces. But for tonight, Okearo slept in fragile peace, thanks to one woman's courage and one detective's stubborn faith in truth. Tunde lifted his cup to the stars. "Rest well, Mama Risi," he murmured. "We're still fighting." The thunder rolled again, gentle, distant, and watchful.